Well, thanks, Dakota. Let's see if I can live up to that. I appreciate everyone joining today, and greetings from my Breckenridge, Colorado office. I decided since it's the start of a holiday weekend, I better get out to where COVID is less present. So um, this is our third in the series on marketing leaders making change. There's been very high interest in this series. I think that's because everyone is undergoing tremendous change, but more importantly, looking for answers. And there's a great opportunity to learn from each other. In a few minutes, I'll introduce two of the strongest and insightful CMOs I know, and they'll have some great ideas for you to ponder and hopefully implement. So you'll want to take notes. But this is, as we all know, a highly complex time for marketers. First of all, there's the pandemic and how that's changed all of our personal lives and all of our business lives, how we do business, and we're all still navigating that. And then on top of it, there's been an unprecedented level, at least in the few decades, of social unrest spurred by the George Floyd death, and we're all trying to understand our part in promoting racial equality and how we respond as individuals and as businesses to that. There have been some upsides. We've mastered using Zoom, for example, or many of you have. I know some of you may have still struggled. We've been able to reconnect with some old friends over virtual happy hours. I restarted my guitar lessons, which had been on hold for a few years. And I'm thinking about brushing up on my French or maybe learning some Russian. But we've also faced a lot of pressure as marketers. Marketing budgets have been cut in most cases, I would say. There's a small minority of companies that are turning on the gas because their business models are well suited to what's going on. But I think many of us are forced more than ever to justify the role of marketing. What's the ROI we bring, and how do we continue to drive our businesses? I think marketing voices should be heard now more than ever. You know, success coming out of this pandemic is really going to be about understanding how customers and markets have changed. We marketers are supposed to be the experts on that. So we should be constantly refining our skills and improving our ability to bring direction based on what customers need and how markets are changing. And that gives us influence in our companies. So what I like to think of this as not just a new normal. Everyone's talking about that. Things have changed. But we really should be thinking about it as a new better. The winners will be the companies that come out of this meeting customer needs and competing smarter. Many companies, and I've talked to probably 40 C-level folks in the last month, many are still dealing with short-term urgent things like transitioning to video calls and getting content online, and a lot of that is just necessary for doing business. The winners, though, will be those that focus not on just seemingly not just on the urgent, but the less urgent, what seems to be less urgent, but long-term essential. So I'd say this is a golden opportunity right now for marketers to shine. The new better is really about innovation. When you think about it, innovation plays out in a number of ways. It's about getting closer to your customers, becoming easier to do business with, entering totally new markets or product categories that maybe you never considered before. And it could be just changing up your business model. And these are really hard things to do, and your competitors will likely miss them. So always be thinking about how you can uncover these ideas to innovate. Leadership from the marketing discipline is the company's best hope. As Dakota said, my day job is running a consulting firm that I founded called Aspire Up. And our mission is really to elevate the impact of strategic marketing, whether it's defining and redefining brand strategies, innovating new products and business models, redesigning customer experiences, or uncovering new sources of demand or revenue streams. And that's all the work that you do. We really love to empower, as the ANA, marketers to add value and elevate the strategic driving force of the function in the company. And there's one common ingredient that we all share that gives us permission to do that, and that's understanding customers. So now shifting to our panelists, they're both change makers who have defined marketing as a strategic driver of their businesses. And they're not only impressive business people, but impressive people. Steve Handmaker is a 16-year veteran at Assurance, which is an insurance brokerage business, where he, as CMO, has grown it into a multi-billion-dollar business, not only by driving traditional marketing capabilities, but he's also had a huge influence on company culture in evolving the sense of identity of the firm around the brand. And the Assurance has repeatedly won awards for the best place to work as a direct result of what Steve has done. Now, Assurance was recently bought by Marsh, and which is one of the largest in the insurance brokerage business. And unlike many CMOs who, when their businesses get acquired, he wasn't shown the door. In fact, Steve's role has actually increased, and he's taken on more responsibility. They see him as a real leader at Marsh for the future. Now, Rissa Reddan, who I'll ask to speak first. Rissa is another dynamic and change-making CMO. She's SVP Marketing at PayNet, which is a leader in collecting data and insights that help banks make better lending decisions. So both of our panelists are B2B leaders. Rissa has helped grow that business and tune up marketing capabilities, which led to an exit recently. Equifax acquired PayNet. Makes a lot of sense for them with a greater range of capabilities. Previously, Rissa was a marketing leader with PricewaterhouseCoopers and Performance Trust. And I consider Steve and Rissa both good friends of mine and great people I learned from. So I'll start with you, Rissa. The first question is, just give us a quick snapshot of what the last 2 to 3 months has been like for you. We all love to hear about a little bit of drama because we're all sort of can commiserate with it.
Absolutely. And Roland, thank you so much for inviting me to join today. It's a delight to spend time with you, and Dakota and Maggie, thank you so much for making this happen today. I'm happy to see familiar faces and names on today's webinar. And I would say, Roland, getting to your question, it has been a whirlwind. I mean, if I were to sum up in one word what the last couple of months have looked like, and to the point that you raised, PayNet is focused on access to capital for small business. And we know that small business has a huge impact on the American economy. And when the small business economy thrives, so too the US economy. And we are really seeing small business in some level of peril, in some level of challenge. And we've really pivoted our business to roll out new products in order to serve this moment in time, if you will. So for example, we rolled out a new product that is addressing PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program, which was created in order to create relief for small business in America. So it's been busier than ever more recently. And I think to the points that you raised, there's such importance for marketers to be strategic partners to our businesses and to help us to not only survive this current era, but really thrive and come out of it stronger than ever before.
That's great, Rissa. Well, you've had most people, like I said, have been dealing with short-term tactical things. You're actually rolling out new products, and that I'm sure that took all you had to give. Not many vacation days the last few months. Steve, let's hear from you. A little bit of perspective and drama on your short-term life these days.
Well, I fear with all of that awesome setup, by speaking, I can only sound stupider. So, bear with me for a moment, but it has been an exciting few months in some crazy ways for us because though this was, I assure you, quite unintentional, we did not expect our planned acquisition, which actually officially closed on April 1st, to be right in the middle of a heightened global pandemic as it was really exploding. And so to make that move and to garner the excitement and and togetherness of all of our 500 employees that were scattered to the wind created, as you might expect, a lot of tremendous communication challenges, a lot of pivoting. Fortunately, we have been the kind of organization that is able to functionally work remotely, though we've never all done it at once. So in terms of what we've been dealing with, for an organization that sort of prides itself on its very deliberate culture, many of the aspects of our very deliberate culture got shown the door. And so we have had a lot of rethinking to do on how we operate deliberately in an environment where we are not face to face. We can't have that aspect to it. So we've had to increase things like FaceTime. We had to take a lot of the routine communications that we've done either in writing or via voice, and we've transitioned a lot of it to video, not because we think it's a better medium, it was just the most important medium right now. And like Rissa, you know, our clients, which spread all the industry sectors, they're the ones that are really struggling, and they're the ones that have really been affected and hit hard by this. And as their broker, as their advisor, they turn to us and say, what are our solutions? We have a lot of clients in the senior living industry, and you can imagine the drama that they've been going through right now. We have a lot of folks in real estate who are hurting. It has been a real interesting mix of trying to listen to customer needs and respond in kind. And so, Roland, I think your setup point about, look, marketing is supposed to know and understand the customer and have that intelligence. This is the golden moment for that in many respects, because it's not about our experience of woe is us and our workforce, but it's trying to rethink for all of our clients in all of these disparate industries, what is their experience right now? What is their experience of running their business? What is their experience of managing through their employees that we are really trying to listen and respond to? One of the things we do is employee benefits. And many of our employees, many of our clients rather, still have always done employee benefits through things like open enrollment, right? You have the big open enrollment meetings, and there are a lot of folks still doing those in person with paper, by hand. Not this year, right? That's gone. So it is jumping in and trying to look ahead, look down the line, and help these folks rethink some of the things that are just been their normal course of business operations, understanding that that's going to be a concern and finding the solution for that. So, you know, I hate it because Lord knows I don't like working like this, but it's an exciting time to be in marketing. It's an exciting time to feel that we can really lend a hand here and rethink the kind of work that we should be doing.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, both Steve, you and Rissa have shown tremendous empathy for customers in what you've described, and that's really the key. Understanding what customers are going through and getting your organizations to adapt. And it takes a lot of leadership. One of the things that I'm seeing when the world opens up, that customers will be changed for the longer term. The pandemic has brought both trends and catalysts. So accelerating trends like moving to touchless digital transactions like you described, Steve, or catalysts to do things differentely. And in your example, they've had to do both, getting employers to move to a touchless system when they've forever been doing this in person. And but it is a great opportunity because a lot of, adoption of technology has never been easier. And a lot of our businesses rely on our progress being reliant on moving technology ahead and getting our customers to absorb them, or shifting advertising to communicate brand values is another big thing. Rissa, I'll turn to you. I want to think about or have you think about what is changing for the longer term. What do you see as some of the needs for either your customers or the way you do business in your culture of your company that needs to change, that can help you compete better than you did in the past?
Sure. I would say, jumping to your comment around catalysts as well, that this time has very much been a catalyst for our customer, that we have long been advocates for automation and for usage of data to make smart decisions. And we never want that to replace a relationship. That bankers certainly are very focused on the relationships that they have in their communities. And really, we've always advocated for, embrace the digital lending revolution, that the digital lending revolution is coming. And I feel like this recent period of time has really reinforced some of that earlier messaging of ours. And I think to your point, then what comes next, and how do we continue to evolve digitally? And I think something that's been interesting about this most recent time is we're also becoming more digital. I mean, we've certainly advocated for going digital, but we're also really living it with our customers. And I think is important perspective for us to have as we move forward and look to continue on that journey of this is what a digital lending revolution looks like in 2019, now 2020, 2021, what will that look like? And how do those relationships evolve, and how are they augmented by technology as we move forward?
Yeah, that's absolutely the case. And Steve, as you think about the longer term, how do you think your business can compete better to be a part of the new better, not just new normal, and actually get headway?
Thank you. That's and I probably echo a lot of where Rissa's going, but what I think about is that there's certainly speed for one is increased dramatically, and I think about the benefits of that. Our ability to close deals during this time is actually the speed with which we're able to close them is incredible now. There used to be times where you couldn't get the deal closed until you flew in these 6 people from around the country to meet with the client, just because this kind of thing was not seen as a viable alternative. Now that it is the only alternative, I think we're seeing the ability to operate more quickly, to bring people together, to move clients along more quickly is a real benefit to us. I don't think that even when we can get face-to-face, I don't think this notion of the ability to do so and people's level of comfort with it is going away. So I'm excited by that. I also think for us in marketing, it has been a wonderful, eye-opening opportunity to partner closer with our sales professionals who maybe have in some instances resisted technology or not looked at it as a core driver or vehicle. Right now, it's the only vehicle. So all of a sudden, you wouldn't believe what's important to them. All the things we've been spouting for a while have become super important, and that's great for us. So I think there's going to become greater alignment around some of our digital initiatives with our sales professionals, just because of the course of being forced to go through this. I think that's exciting. But the other thing, Roland, it's sort of the takeaway here for us is about thinking about this is it's not just enough to know and be a quote unquote proficient user of Zoom, right? And trust me, I'm not excellent yet, but I have been on a number of and so far we're doing great, but I have been on a number of Zoom meetings, and you could tell those that are crisp and slick and those that are well thought out and everyone's got a role to play. It is, online selling, if you will, is a real art and a skill. And I think you have a real opportunity to stand apart from your competition who may be limping in with the, is my mic working? Where am I? Can you see this? I think those who really master the art of getting good with this and really making it a quiver in their arrows, I think they stand a real significant advantage go forward.
Yeah, it's a great point. Rissa, were you going to make a comment?
Yes, I'm sorry. Steve, I think that's so fascinating because you are telling me my life. I think it's interesting, that idea of how does this create greater opportunity for us to align ourselves with our sales teams, because I was recently asked about pulling together some sort of a virtual sales presentation training, not on the materials that have been created or really on the brand, but on the delivery through an online medium, because it's part of that customer experience. And it's now a new skill set that we need for people to have. And to the very points that you raised, it is different than being in a room, and you might need to exaggerate your movements, or, you know, making eye contact with the camera is different for people. And I think that that's really interesting as we think about how we take what we've done and translate it to a new medium.
Sure, we talked social. Oh, go ahead.
I was talking to someone just the other day here in Breckenridge, actually. He said, I love living here. It's a great lifestyle. And I've probably closed 500 deals in the last 8 years because I embraced video conferencing way back when, and most people are still trying to figure out how to do it. But now that I've learned how to do it, I can take guitar lessons and learn Russian because I'm out there, you know, on Zoom much more. You know, Steve, I think you said you could replace 5 hours on the golf course with 2 people with 5 or 6 Zoom calls and cover a lot more. So
and it's cheaper.
It's a lot cheaper. Yeah, it doesn't do much for your golf game, so that's an issue. Let me turn to sort of as we tee up our breakout session in a few moments, which everyone will want to stay for. Let me tell you, we've been getting rave reviews on that, so please stick around for that because you can sort of go deeper with some peers on issues you're wrestling with. But as we think about the hits we've been taking maybe as a marketing function, having to justify what we do, I would love to hear from each of you, and Steve, we'll start with you this time. What's some practical advice, some tips that you would have for marketers to demonstrate value? It sounds like a simple thing, but I think a lot of folks are reeling with, you know, necessary cuts maybe in media because building awareness may not be where the dollars need to be spent right now. But a lot of that money needs to be redeployed to doing something else. So what tips would you have, Steve, for that? And then Rissa, we'll have you close it out before we go to the breakouts.
Yeah, well, I probably am going to steal a bit because in trying to think this through, maybe even steal a little bit without you knowing it from your opening. And that does go back to, for whatever reason, many of the marketers that I'm talking to right now are not trying to dig deeper into exactly what their users need. They are doing a lot of guessing. They're doing a lot of anticipating. They're assuming that that a lot of their customers are desperate to receive, you know, 20 emails a day on the possible every instance latest happening with the pandemic, you know, or whatever it is. There's a whole big anticipation of what's happening out there. And I usually ask the question, I'm like, how do we know this? What are, you know, tell me about the surveys you've been doing. What kind of education and information are you bringing back to make decisions? And it's like, I'm just going based on what I hear. And that usually is a recipe in my world for not a lot of strategic thinking. So the one big thing I would say is now is a great time to redeploy some perhaps saved dollars that you're not spending in other areas and go deeper on your customers. Dig deeper on that customer experience. Now's a great time to partner with a firm that might be able to go out and do a short interview or a call. You know, people are around, they'll pick up the phone. Now is the greatest time to bring back customer research on their concerns, their thoughts, go forward, and create something actionable that you might be able to do. So I think, you know, marketing's intelligence gathering is unfortunately one of the big, always missing components, and now is a wonderful time to be leaning into that and using those dollars in that regard.
Yeah, no, that's is absolutely the source of greatness and influence in the company is uncovering ways to shape your business model and products. In fact, we've had a number of companies reaching out to us in the last few weeks. In fact, later today, I'm pitching a project to do a whole product development exploratory on what new product and services can be developed in light of COVID to help growth. So, and that really all starts with insights from customers. Rissa, what are your tips for marketers on how to bring new value to the company right now?
Sure. As a data and analytics business, it will not surprise you that it's important to bring data and analytics to our leadership team to really demonstrate the value that you know, to really educate on the contribution that we make. And for our business, you know, it's often leads, it's touch points, it's really, you know, sharing some metrics to tell a story around the impact that it's it's not enough to, it's really important to bring the numbers to the table as part of that conversation. And we've driven that as well, to Steve's point around that, the customer insights, doing more polling with our webinars. Of course, we've completely flipped our marketing mix, and we would typically be having 2 large in-person events, one C-suite focused, one practitioner focused. So everything's been, of course, shifted to webinars, but then doing some surveying as part of those webinars, to ask people on, when do we think the economy is going to turn back around, or really to get some customer insights and build that into the experience. Because I do think that people enjoy sharing their perspective and what they're seeing with their own markets. And so I think it's been an interesting opportunity to really get flexible and look at new ways of engaging that we hadn't possibly considered before.
That's really insightful, and really it's a chance to rethink a lot of things about how we do business, and even with respect to our corporate cultures. I've just been told we have a couple of more minutes, so I don't want to miss the opportunity to highlight another tremendous thing that's causing change right now is our national consciousness being raised around social injustice, and a number of brands have addressed that publicly on their homepages and in their advertising. There's challenges with doing that, I'd say. But what I just ask is maybe just a very quick comment on anything that you've seen or done differently in your companies, given the backdrop of racial tensions and injustice being much more on your customers' minds and the public's minds.
Rissa,
I'll jump in on that.
Yeah,
we had a really interesting conversation with our CEO and one of our very senior leaders, Bev Anderson, and it was front and center. It was putting that topic on the table as something that we as a company need to address. And Mark Begor, the CEO of Equifax, has signed a petition that is all about addressing this issue. And it was interesting too, because it was a little bit of a call-in show, if you will. It reminded me of the Phil Donahue days. But people calling in and saying, here's been my experience. And it was raw, and it was frank, and it was honest, and it was really something that made an impact on our employees. And it's fantastic to see that tone at the top, and to see, then also follow-up communications and this wasn't a one and done. This was the start of an ongoing dialogue that we will continue to have.
Yeah, and I would just add, so thankfully, for us, I suppose, if you will, we're in a pretty good spot in this regard. But as we join Marsh and McClennan agencies, they've taken a strong initiative towards diversity and inclusion, and there's working groups, and there's a lot of thought leadership going on there. There have been a routine series of call-ins, to your point, getting different points of view that have been very eye-opening. Locally, as we've been thinking about our own company, the one thing that our CEO is pretty big on, and who's a great communicator and a really thoughtful person, is he didn't just want to be another letter from a CEO saying, I hear you. That was a certain element of importance, but he took a quick stab and looked around and said, what are we missing? What aren't we doing well? Because I don't want to just say, I hear you and it'll get better, and not be able to point to what we will do to get better. So certainly there's the social justice and the charitable arm and all those things that we have turned our attention to and put our money where our mouth is. But there's more than that. It has to be a change in our hiring practices. It has to be a number of things that we are sort of committing to forcing change and reporting back on. So I think it starts by listening. But I think you have to be able to give some very specific and practical notes about what will change, how we start to make, be that change that we need to see. Unfortunately, we were laughing as we have a wonderfully undiverse industry. Whatever reason that is, insurance always ranks up near the top, and there's practically no answer for that, and that will not change unless we decide it will. So we're committed to that.
Well, I like your wisdom about starting with listening, and we can all be better people. And sort of should be our constant pursuit, right? To be better people, be learning, and then in turn improve our businesses. We're going to, please don't leave, folks. This is a highlight of this session. We're going to have you randomly broken up into different breakout rooms through the wonder of this technology. And there'll be a ANA Business Marketing board member who will facilitate your group, but you'll tackle this one question, and it will be related to everything we've talked about. What can you do right now as business people, as marketers, to demonstrate value in the midst of high change? What can you do differently to make your business stronger as the economy opens up?